Приїхав генерал Kellogg.
General Kellogg arrived in Ukraine, and there were no massive bombings for 2 nights in a row. This is a very interesting example. There were no heavy attacks this night and the previous night. Even people are already joking about it, saying that we should give General Kellogg a Ukrainian passport and leave him here.
Hi guys, welcome back to Warthog Defense. Again and again, Ukrainian warplanes struck Russian military positions in Petrovka, deep inside the Belgorod region. This message is clear: nowhere is off limits. As Russia tries to hold its borderline, Ukraine is showing it can hit where it hurts, even inside the motherland. Ukrainian warplanes have struck Russian military positions in Petrovka, Belgorod region, marking another bold cross-border strike. This attack highlights Ukraine's growing ability to project air power deep into Russian territory, turning once safe rear areas into active battlegrounds and sending a clear message: nowhere is beyond our reach. Frequent Ukrainian airstrikes are vital for keeping Russian forces off balance. They force constant repositioning, disrupt supply lines, and degrade key assets like artillery and command centers. Regular air attacks also expose gaps in Russian air defenses, draining resources and creating openings for further operations. It's not just pressure, it's strategic erosion. In Tokmak, a UAZ Su-452 Vents carrying two Russian drone operators was destroyed in a targeted strike, according to Ukraine's military intelligence. The operators were specialists in the Skat 350M UAV, a reconnaissance drone used to locate Ukrainian positions and guide artillery fire in Zaporizhzhia. Eliminating them not only removes skilled personnel but also disrupts Russia's battlefield visibility and coordination. Every destroyed drone crew weakens Russia's ability to strike with precision and blinds its eyes on the front. Journalists have identified a doctor in prison number 10 in Mordovia, Russia, who humiliated, tortured and did not provide medical care to Ukrainian prisoners of war. The investigation by the Schemes Project stated that he was identified through the testimony of former prisoners and open sources, including photos and videos of the medical unit serving the prison. This is 34-year-old Ilya Sorokin, who has been working in the medical unit since at least 2018, and at the end of 2024 he went to serve and took the call sign doctor. In a new investigation, Schemes describes how one of the most closed colonies in Mordovia is organized, how prisoners of war are held there without procedural status, and what regular torture, including sexual violence, takes place there. The journalist also named the heads of the Mordovian prison and other employees responsible for the functioning of the institution. From sources in law enforcement agencies, Schemes received information about 177 Ukrainian prisoners of war who managed to return from Mordovian prison number 10. According to the data analyzed by journalists, as of April 2025, the first prisoners from Ukraine were brought there on June 26, 2022, and the largest arrival took place 6 months later. In particular, in February 2023, 109 prisoners were brought to the prison at once. The journalists talked to several former prisoners who were brought to Mordovia at that time. They told about a doctor who abused them and did not provide proper medical care. The prisoners did not know his real name, and only a few of them had seen his face. Most of them had only heard his voice. They called him Dr. Bada Evil among themselves. Pavel Afisov, an officer of the 36th Separate Marine Brigade, who had been in the prison for a year and a half, said that the doctor regularly used a stun gun, forcing him to crawl or jump and shouting Russian song lyrics. He got aesthetic pleasure from the fact that you are standing in front of him in a squatting position, your arms are raised, you have nothing, your eyes are closed, but at the same time he kicks you between the legs, hits you in the solar plexus, hits you in the liver, hits you with a rubber stick, a taser. He also says that people like us should be subjected to genocide, the soldier recalled. Alexander Savov, another Marine from the 36th Brigade, who was released from captivity, also spoke about being denied proper treatment and being abused by a medic. He stopped me. I saw him standing in a white cart. I thought, well, the doctor will say something now, but I told them that I had suspicions of tuberculosis. I thought maybe they would treat me separately somewhere. And he said to me, "Yeah, what do you need to shout?" I don't know, we're just there for the first time, and he tased me for that. I was silent. Again he tased me, then he said, "Go ahead and scream and swear at me." I apologize. What? I said, should I shout? "Glory to Russian medicine." And again with the taser. I look at him, he's supposed to be a doctor, he's wearing the right robe, but he is so cruel. According to the investigation, the prisoners turned to this doctor about one of their cellmates, military man Volodymyr Yukimenko, but to no avail. In detention, Yukimenko started to have mental problems and was severely beaten. At one point he stopped getting out of bed. The date of death officially recorded by the Russian side is September 1st, 2023. Later, Ukrainian experts would diagnose him with pneumonia, numerous beatings, fractures and hemorrhages. The schemes project has identified Dr. Evil using the website of the Federal Penitentiary Service of Mordovia. They discovered that prison number 10 is served by a medical unit with the same number, which in turn is a branch of medical and sanitary unit number 13. On the social media pages of the Russian MCH number 13, journalists found photos and videos of medical workers with open faces. The journalists selected common photos and submitted them for identification to about 150 former prisoners. Not all of them responded, but the majority pointed to one of the medical workers. He was an active participant in trade union protests and was friends with many employees of the Mordovia prison on social media. The decisive evidence was a video from an event organized by Medical Unit number 13 and dedicated to the Day of the Medical Service of the Penal System, discovered by schemes in Russia. In it, the doctor can not only be seen clearly, but his voice can also be heard. After watching the recording, about 50 of the interviewed military confirmed the identity. The journalist identified him as Ilya Sorokin, 30 years old, with 2 children. Until recently, he openly indicated his place of work on social media. Medical and Sanitary Unit number 13 of the Russian Federal Penitentiary Service. In the leaks from Russian databases, schemes found his income data from this medical unit, in particular before the full-scale invasion. In 2018, he received 560,000 rubles, and in 2016, 80,000. In terms of dollars, this is about 9,000 per year. In 2022, Sorokin posted a photo of a certificate of merit on the social network, which states that he was awarded for conscientious performance of public duties and active participation in the life of the team. The certificate explicitly states that he works in the medical unit that serves in the prison number 10. Sorokin, according to the investigation, has a typical Russian family. His father is nostalgic for the USSR and a Stalin. His sister is the wife of a paratrooper from Tula. Sorokin himself participates in May 9 parades with portraits of his relatives, wears Soviet uniforms and St. George's ribbons. After the occupation, he visited Crimea. Today, his social media posts include covers with Z symbols and support for the Russian army. The journalists contacted Sorokin. When asked about the abuse of Ukrainian prisoners, he gave a short answer. "This cannot happen, I don't work there." The fact that Sorokin worked in the prison was confirmed by Tatiana Zhuravleva, HR specialist of Medical Unit number 13. When asked if Sorokin worked there, she said yes, and informed that he would return to work after his military service. As the journalists found out, Sorokin went to serve at the end of 2024. He took the call sign Doctor and is probably currently serving in the logistics forces of the Russian military. He regularly meets with his colleagues from the medical unit, receiving assistance from them for the unit, including equipment, medicines and camouflage nets, which, as it turned out, are supplied by his native tent prison. In the investigation, the journalists also identified the employees of the medical and sanitary unit number, which includes the prison's doctors. According to the testimonies of the prisoners, not a single doctor there provided them with proper care. Separately, schemes identified those employees of the prison who ensured its operation, provided security, searched for personnel, and were responsible for discipline and life in the camp. In the investigation, journalists named the prison's management. According to the prisoners, they not only knew about what was happening, but probably gave the appropriate orders. As of 2022, it was Serhiy Zabaikin, then he was replaced by Alexander Khnutov, who had previously been Zabaikin's deputy and became the interim head. In July 2024, Khnutov changed this status to an official one and, according to the prison's website, remains in office to this day. As of May, Ukrainian law enforcement agencies were investigating the executions of 268 Ukrainian prisoners of war by Russians. Zelensky, Kellogg arrived in Kyiv, and for 2 nights in a row there have been no massive attacks on the city.
Приїхав генерал Келлог.
General Kellogg arrived in Ukraine, and there were no massive bombings for 2 nights in a row. This is a very interesting example. There were no heavy attacks this night and the previous night. Even people are already joking about it, saying that we should give General Kellogg a Ukrainian passport and leave him here, and that Americans should come to us more often, because then Russia would bomb less. What does this mean? That Putin deliberately bombs civilians, but when the Americans are here, he doesn't do it. Putin will try to intimidate, blackmail, and create tension, but he does not go for a full escalation. This means one thing: Putin is afraid of America. I've been saying this all along, and I've also told the president. Whatever the case, Putin is afraid of America, and I am sure of it.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week at 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.